me hit record. So yeah, so that's how, like the protein powder, that stuff will come into play. Now you can eat the chicken, for
Yeah.
sure if you have time or if you have the appetite for it. But you know, as long as you get it down, that's the main thing. Because a lot of people get into this fallacy of less is more when
Hmm.
it comes to losing weight by counting macros. They're like, okay, as long as I'm under this number, I'm fine. And to an extent, that is true. But if you keep that mentality of just less is more, and you're supposed to be eating 2,500 calories a day, and you're at 17, 18. 1,500, lower calories. And then, once your metabolism adapts to that number, you don't have a whole lot of room left to go.
Okay.
The whole goal is, um, you know, whatever that your number is, let's just say, it's, 2,000 calories a day. You want to be in just enough of a deficit to where that weight loss is trending downward. You don't want to just go, okay, well, I'm supposed to be eating 2,000 calories. Let me just go ahead and cut it to a thousand.
Yeah.
And then so what happens whenever your body stops responding to 1,000 calories a day? Well, you can't go a whole lot lower than that. So the other option is to crank up the cardio, crank up the workouts, and that's where it just gets very unsustainable for everybody. So, the closer to those macros that you can be, at the end of the day, as long as you got your calories accounted for and your protein intake is where it needs to be, the carbs and fats can just kind of fall like, or they need to fall.
Okay.
But as long as you're, within 100 calories, up or down, that's kind of the sweet spot. I like to tell people, since protein and carbs both have, 4 calories per gram and fat is 9. I like to say for protein and the carbs, keep it, 10 grams over under on your macros, and then fat, try to keep it around 5. And that's going to keep you, within that, 100 up or down range.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, biggest takeaway from that is just try to, hit it as close as you can every day. You just don't want to go too low, get in that mindset of less is more because it'll backfire on you fairly quickly. So.
And no, and yeah, so I think, and then the other hardest thing for me so far, like last week, um, I've always, or in my personal opinion, like for me, like I could never work out on like a full stomach. So like one of the things that you put in like my intro letter is like, hey, make sure you're eating, whatever it was, 6 ounces of chicken and like 3 ounces of rice before you go to the gym, so your body has all that to work off of. And it's like going to the gym on like a full stomach, sort of like even letting it sit for like 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I still felt like full. So I'm like, oh, but now like doing that for a week and like working out, and like I can tell the difference. Like my body's burning. Like I think in your letter, like you're giving your body a chance to burn that stuff off versus the stuff that was already in my system. So
Yep.
that's been a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, and you just don't want to go to the gym with a full stomach. I mean, if you're doing a leg press and all that weight is coming down on your stomach, like that's not going to end well for you. You'll probably be in the bathroom rather quickly. But yeah, the main thing is just to keep something light on your stomach. I don't recommend a lot of people train fasted. I got a couple of clients who train fasted and it worked for them, but for the majority of people, it just doesn't work. So, just keep the meal as light as you can, or as light as you can handle, and then just kind of go from there. So,
Gotcha. Nope. Yeah. Other than that, everything's good.
okay, cool deal. Yo, what's up, Ren? And we got Jacob here as well too. Um, Rian has already went. I think I've already went through this topic with you, Rian, but I'm going to go through it with these two as well too, because I think everybody needs to be kind of reminded of what progressive overload is when it comes to working out. I don't know if Billy and Jacob, if y'all are kind of aware of like what we're trying to do as far as like working out goes when it comes to progressive overload. I'm sure that you two have probably heard of what progressive overload is before. Yes or no, kind of a little bit.
I don't think. Nope. I don't think I know what you're talking about.
Okay. All right. So, and I'm just reading off my notes here. So, progressive overload is this principle to where it's going to involve us gradually increasing the demands placed on the body over a period of time. So this will eliminate you guys going into the gym just walking around, not knowing what to do, not knowing what to lift, not knowing what weight to use. Again, it's all a part about just having a plan and knowing what to do and how to execute that plan. Um, so for progressive overload specifically, there are many ways to move the needle of progression forward when it comes to progressive overload. So, things like this could be increasing the amount of weight lifted. So going from 100 pounds to 110 pounds, that's progressive overload. Um, you could add more, you could add more reps, add more sets. You could adjust the tempo. So, instead of going, down fast, you could do, a 1, 2, 3 pause tempo. Again, it's just making it harder. Um, and then reducing the rest periods, things like that are several different metrics of what progressive overload is. Because at the end of the day, we're trying. You're not always going to be trying to beat the logbook every week, but you got to have some kind of number like, okay, last week I was here. For me to get to my goal that's over here, I need to be progressing in some form of fashion to get me here because I'm not going to go from here to here just in one big jump. I have to progressively move over this way. And so that's where progressive overload comes into play. So this could be something like, so if you're on the bench press, right, and you did 100 pounds for 10 reps last week, right, and the biggest thing is that you're writing this stuff down or you're entering it into the app to where you can go back and look and see what you've done last week, right. So you could either go up in reps, so you could try to get 11 for 100 pounds this week, or you could go up in weight. Let's try to get 10 for 105 pounds this week, and doing it this way, I mean, it's physics. It's just is what it is. If you lifted more weight than you did 6 months ago, you're going to be bigger. You're going to be stronger. You're going to have more muscle mass. But again, if you don't know how to progressively do this, then it's not going to amount to much of anything. So a lot of people, you could probably go into the gym now, and 90% of people in the gym do not have a logbook, are not tracking inside of their phone in any form or fashion. They just go up to a machine, it's like, oh, 100 pounds, cool, and they just lift it, and then they set it down, and they get up and go to the next machine. Oh, 80 pounds, cool, and they just lift it. Right? They have no idea what they done last week or the week before. How do they know that they're progressing in the gym if they don't keep track of what they're doing, and there's no measure of like, hey, last week I lifted a total poundage of, 50,000 pounds. Well, did I go in there and dick around today and only lift, 30,000, or did I, really get after it, and hit a total of, 55,000, if you add all the weights, sets, that kind of thing, up over time. Um, so does all that stuff make sense so far, Billy and Jacob? Is this,
Yeah. Yes.
okay. So essentially, what we're get or what I'm getting at is we just cannot go into the gym and just have no ungodly idea of what we're doing. What's next. I mean, I got my logbook, and I should have brought it in. It's in my gym bag. Every session, I write down everything that I've done. So I'll start out with, yesterday was chest day. I started out with, 20 minutes of, treadmill work. I wrote down, kind of how I felt, if I felt sick, if I felt great, if I felt kind of groggy, sinusy. Like I take notes in that book. So I say, okay, this is how this is how I approached, the workout today. Did I have a good night's sleep? Did I sleep like crap last night? And then I hop into the actual, workout itself. So I put, seated cable flies. I started out with a warm up of, 10 reps for, 25 pounds. And then I hopped over into the next one, 10 reps for, 30 pounds kind of thing. And then I actually got into the actual, working sets. I'm like, okay, last week I did 13 reps at 25 pounds. My rep range is 12 to 15. So I'm still not at that high end of the rep scheme yet, if you see what I'm saying. So I still have room to improve there. So I didn't bump the weight up, I just wanted to beat my number 13 from last week to get it closer to the, to the 15. Now, if this week, if I hit 15, cool deal. Next week, I'm going to see that and say, okay, I hit my top rep range of 12 to 15 this week on the first set. I'm going to go up from 30 pounds to, let's say, 35 pounds. And that's just how that you progressively go up, a week after week. Now, if you're using a barbell, those, little small 2.5 pound plates, those will be your best friend because you really can't even tell that those are there the majority of the time because they're tiny. It's only 2.5 pounds on each side, right? It's a 5 pound increase. But if you do that over a span of a month, that's 20 pounds added. Over a span of 6 months, that's what, 120 pounds added. So instead of you going in there and say, oh, well, I did, 135 on bench press last week or for 10, let me go ahead and throw that 25 pound on each side. I mean, you're jumping up 50 pounds, right? And maybe, that 2.5 pound might not, be enough, but still, you can throw a five or a 10. I'm a big advocate of using the smaller plates because, I mean, that's how you progressively build things up. Um, and it's at the end of the day, understanding and implementing what progressive overload is and what its purpose is, it will change the way that you go into the gym. I think of this as a game. When I go in there and say, okay, I'm not going to get beat today. I have to beat, I want to come out in the positive, right? So if I do a chest press and I beat last week's by 2 reps, and then I went over to, a decline bench press and I was short, 1 rep from last week. Well, total, I'm up 1 rep as compared to last week, right? I think of it as a game. Now, granted, there's times to back off, there's times to not get injured and things like that, But if you think of it as a game, the gym just becomes more enjoyable because you have something to chase after instead of just, all right, let me check these boxes off and get this thing done. It's like, okay, no, like I really need to hit 12 reps here at this poundage. I'm going to give my absolute all to get that, and that's when that you'll see the most growth. Honestly, is just when you have a plan and know what to lift, and it just kind of brings the fun back into the gym for a lot of folks. So, but that was basically it. Very. I'm not going to say basic because a lot of people don't know what progressive overload is, but once you get the hang of it, it's like, oh, that makes sense. It is pretty basic. But again, a lot of people have never even heard of that. So, do y'all get any questions with anything about progressive overload? Does all that stuff make pretty a good sense of how to, use it in your own program?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to me. The only thing that like I feel like as far as like a struggle that I kind of have is like knowing like I guess what's a realistic approach to knowing when to expect increases, if that makes sense. Like is that a week to week thing, cross
Yep.
exercises or
Yep. So I don't go into the gym at all expecting to lift X amount more weight than I did last week. I kind of base all of that off of how my warm up sets goes. So and I can kind of like remember like a warm up set is just that. It's a warm up set. It's not meant to push that fatigue point to the point to where you're sacrificing working set reps because you did too many warm up set reps. But I do kind of go into the gym with a mind state of like, all right, like I do want to come out in the green, in the positive. Let me look over everything. I mean, because I'll even write in my logbook, if I did incline bench press, 225 for 12 reps last week, I'm going to write you know, not easy, but I'm going to write, this felt, really good. I felt strong here. So I can kind of expect if everything's the same, granted, everything's not going to, every week to week, your sleep is
yeah.
not going to, be the exact same. It's a totally, different week, right? But I can go into it thinking like, okay, last week, this 12 reps, it wasn't easy, but I felt like very solid connection on this exercise. So I can kind of expect once I get to like rep 8 or 9, I'm gonna know if I'm gonna be able to get 12, get 13, get 14, that kind of thing. It's really it's more or less day to day. Um, excuse me. Don't go into the gym and expect to break PRs every single day because it's not going to happen. Um, if that was the case, we would all be squatting and bench pressing and deadlifting 5,000 pounds at this point. But at some point, things will slow down and come to a halt, and that's when you got to go to a deload, or change up exercises. But don't go into the gym of this expectation of I'm gonna you should have some you should have some inclination to beat every single lift from last week, but don't let that dictate how your entire workout is going to go, if that makes sense. Is that kind of what you were asking, maybe?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Um, you got anything, Billy? All that stuff make pretty good sense.
It does. Like the question I was gonna ask, and like you touched on it too, is like so either like increasing the weight or doing, slower reps, time under tension.
Mhm.
Do you like when you're working out, do you change that up like week to week? So like like if you do chest on Monday, like are you doing like time on tension like on, this Monday and the next Monday you'll look to increase maybe doing more reps or more weights, or do you try to like mix them all in like the same workout?
Nope. So, and you can use this mindset for really anything as far as like nutrition goes, cardio, everything. You never want to change up more than one variable at one time, because then we're not gonna know if something goes wrong, what variable messed us up, right?
Okay.
And so me personally, I always train in that 2 to 3 second negative time under tension tempo anyway. And so I just know that I'm going in there and I'm gonna do that slower tempo every single time. I notated in my notes, just in case I want to look back a year from now, and kind of see. Typically, the only thing that I change for me personally in progressive overload is reps and sets. And the only time that I'll go up in weight is once I hit that top end mark of that first working set. But one inclination to that is if I'm telling you to do, 2 sets of 12 to, 15 reps. That first set I hit, 15. I felt good. I felt strong. And then set number two, I got like 4. I would probably the next week still stay in that same, working set, just because that working set number two was so poor compared, to the first one. Ideally, if you're hitting 15 reps in that first set, your second set should be 11 to 12, 13 ish, somewhere in there. If it falls off drastically, I would say write that down in your logbook, and then next week stick to that same weight, and then hopefully that second working set is going to come up and not be so poor as compared to the first set. So
Okay, that makes sense.
yes. Okay, cool. You got anything for us, Brian? Or are you over there eating?
Just listening in, I realized I didn't have a camera or a microphone attached to my PC, so I figured I'd get on my iPhone instead, not be rude.
No, you're good. You're good.
No, I'm just being rude and eating my lunch. So
No, you're good. I think Ren was one of the first ones that I actually like hopped on a phone call with, and like we talked on the phone for like what 15, 20 minutes that day, and like really like went into like the ins and outs of like training and like things like that, because honestly that's one thing that I really enjoy talking about is training, because a lot of people do not understand. A lot of people know how to work out. A very small part of the population know actually how to train with intensity and intent to get them closer to their goals. And implementing progressive overload will surely help you get there a lot faster than just going in there with no plan, which is what a lot of people do. But now you guys know. So
just to second that, I mean, that was the biggest game changer, I think, in my with weight, with strength training in general, because I didn't know what I was doing. I was just going from machine to machine and going through the motions and putting as much weight as I felt like I could do. But learning progressive overload and training with intensity and training to failure, and that, and the 2 second pause at the top, the 2 second negative, that's been game changer. So
yeah, absolutely. And if you didn't train as hard as you do, I would say that your weight loss so far probably wouldn't be as dramatic as it is right now. But you know, you train hard and it shows. So, but anyway, outside of that, y'all got any questions about anything? This is open Q&A. You got anything about any of the plans, workouts, and nutrition, anything like that for the last few minutes?
Is there a way to log on the app, or how would you want us to log it, or log, like, so if we, like, the workouts that we have on the app that you've put in there, if let's say we do those 3 or 4 exercises, but then we're like, hey, we're going to work out for like another 15-20 minutes, like I'm going to do this chest exercise, or how do you want us to log, like, is there a way to log that in the app, or are there notes?
You can definitely do it in your notes. I'm pretty sure, and I think Ren, I think you've tried this before. I think that you can go into the workout itself, and actually edit it. Yes. So if you click on the actual workout itself, up at the very top right, it's got those little like 3 little like buttons or whatever. You can click on that and click edit, and you can actually add a workout, or you can add an exercise into the actual app itself, and how many reps that you've done, sets that you did. Or if you don't want to do that, that's fine. Just enter it into your notes, and I can see that as well too. So either way that you want to do it.
Okay, I'll have to go back and look. I didn't see that, so appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. And that goes for anything. If you got an exercise that your gym don't have, or that you just don't have at hand, you can go click edit, and you can actually take that exercise out and replace it with another as well too. So
Okay.
You got anything, Jacob? Are you good?
I think I'm good.
Okay, cool. Well, Ryan, you got anything? Or are you good? Cool. All right. Well, I guess one question to ask you guys: how do you guys like the group chat? Everybody seems to like that pretty well.
Yeah, I think it's
Okay,
great.
cool. I used to have it a long, long time ago, and then for some reason I can't remember why I got rid of it. Mm, I think we swapped platforms or something, and it wasn't available. But I just like to everybody, to chime in, add a little bit of motivation. It seems to kind of kickstart everybody's day. So I enjoy looking at them. But anyway, yeah, I won't hold you guys up anymore. We'll get to it. And if you guys got any questions, as always, text me or whatever. We can just go from there.
All right.
All right,
Appreciate it.
All right.
appreciate
See y'all.
you.
Y'all be good. See y'all.
Yeah.